What up everyone, my name is Valroy. I've been a recording studio engineer and musician for 18 years, having recorded, mixed, mastered, and produced artists from all over Mexico, the US, and Europe. In this channel, I talk about my philosophy, my workflow, show cool new gear, and show you how I go from start to finish on many wondrous musical projects. In this video, we're going to be talking about something that you should absolutely do before recording drums as an engineer. Drums are one of the most demanding instruments to record due to the sheer number of microphones that are used in order to try to get the best sound out of them. And I'm going to show you what I did in this brand new studio to get the sound to be as good as it can be going right into my DAW. And this is even more important because these drums are actually going to go on Lisa Siller's new album, which is all being produced, mixed, and mastered right here. So without further ado, it's your boy Valroy, and welcome to the Music House. So, currently, we're in our Pro Tools session, and you can tell I'm just kind of going through and just testing the drums one by one, just seeing how they sound. It sounds okay, pretty good. Some are better than others, and I think that's due to the fact that I need to go in and maybe move the mic adjustment, the mic placement a little bit so that we get the optimal sound from every single microphone. Because, as we all know, if you fix it in post, you don't. Most of the time, it doesn't really work. You want to get the best possible sound directly from the source of this drum kit. And since it's a new studio, new room, new drum kit, well, not new microphones, not all of them at least, but it's a pretty new setup all around. And I have this album for a friend, wonderful artist, Lisa Siller, who was here for 3 weeks recording her album, but we prioritized getting the song structures first, and obviously her voice. That was super, super important that we recorded to 100% capacity, because then she would leave and she wouldn't be able to come over so easily once again to record her final voices. So we recorded all of her main vocals, all secondary vocals, harmonies, doubles, etc. And now I want to dive in with the drums because I think it's perhaps the most demanding instrument out of everything else. So we're going in here and let's see what we got. So I was working on it a little bit before. Here we're going to zoom into the kick. And even though on the Soundcraft GB840 analog console that I have here, I'm able to actually switch the phase, the polarity. That's a big help for many of these drums. The kick in out doesn't really need it, but we notice that there's a little bit of, shall we say, time mismatch between the kick in, which is the microphone that we have inside of the kick drum, and the kick out, which is the other microphone that we have right outside. So with this, I just put up a little time adjuster app, plugin, excuse me, that really thickened the sound a bit more, delaying the kick in by just a few samples so that it would be lined up more perfectly with the kick out. That way there is no phasing issues, there's no thinning out of the sound, and we actually get a fuller kick sound. So let's just solo these two here so that we can listen. You know, it's okay, but the kick out, I'm quite frankly not a big fan of how that sounds. I think maybe the kick drum needs a little bit of tuning, which I was doing a bit of that last night, but it was very late. Maybe I didn't do a good job. Now the kick in, I mean, honestly, it's all right. It's just to get a little bit of that snap from the beater hitting the drum head. But I'm not going to worry too much about this because I want to move the mics a little bit and hope for a better sound right out of the gate. So that's the kick. Then we have our snare top and snare bottom over here, which sounds like this. All right, that's pretty good. Just the snare top. quite a bit of resonance there. I mean, I could clean it up later. I definitely will have to clean it up. I was doing some tests even while Lisa was still here, and we got a nice, crunchy, snappy snare that I thought was really nice. But I think perhaps the SM57 might be pointed maybe too much to the edge and maybe a tad too close to the snare. So we're going to move that around a little bit. So let's listen to the snare bottom, the Shure. I mean, I guess you can't really go wrong with that one. It just really gets the crunchiness of the bottom of that snare pretty cleanly, pretty nicely. I'm not too worried about the snare. It sounds pretty good. It could use a bit more of a transient slap, and I think maybe that has to do with moving the top SM57. Next, we've got our high tom, our rack tom. That sounds nice. That sounds pretty nice right out the gate. Just the high SM57, rather the top microphone. Alrighty, just the low, or the bottom. It's nice, you know, I am not used to miking both the top and the bottom of toms in general, and having them together. You know, they complement each other really nicely. And if we zoom in here, we had turned on the polarity here as well, and we see that for the most part, yeah, it's in phase. You know, when the sound wave goes up on one, it goes up on the other. When it goes down, up, down, etc. So that's quite great. I'm not gonna touch the high tom because I'm pretty happy with how that sounds. Also, for monitoring, I have the Genelex 8341As, and we have gone through this the SAM auto calibration that these Genelec studio monitors offer, so that they basically auto-calibrate themselves through a special microphone that Genelec offers to give you the best sound across all frequencies so that you have the most accurate reference when mixing. So I am confident, thanks to these Genelecs and the SAM system, that this tom sounds quite good. I can trust them. That's what I really like about them. Alrighty, so next we got the low tom, and as you can see, I have a little EQ1 plug-in here, as well as a time adjuster, because I was still playing around with it before I decided to turn on the camera. So let's listen without any plugins. Honestly, it sounds kind of papery. It sounds that it has no weight, frankly. So let's see. Here I had turned on the polarity on it to see if that did anything. But first, let's go in. Ah, you see this. Even though I had it turned on here in the analog mixer, it works to go in and see if there's any phasing issues. And here, indeed, we got one sound wave going down and the other one's going up. This one's going up and then this one's going down. So what happens? They're going to cancel each other out. It's going to thin out the sound, and you don't want that, especially not on a floor tom. You really want the boomy, powerful effect that those drums can bring. So we take off the bypass, we turn on the phase inversion. I'm just going to try to go in here manually. Okay, we are in slip. Let's grab this puppy and move it towards what feels like it might be in phase. This looks like it could be a bit better. Aha, so now moving them manually, wow, that made a world of difference. Much better. Okay, this drum still needs some work, probably directly from the microphone sources, but we were actually able to achieve something that is still better. Alrighty, So, and actually this manual movement, if I go into samples up here in Pro Tools, I could basically figure out exactly how many samples I need to move it, but I want to move on to the next drum in the meantime. So we're going to go back to bars and beats, even though I kind of was just winging it. Let's go to our mix window. I like to have the hi-hats on the left and the ride on the right. That's just something like a personal preference, doesn't really matter. I guess growing up I had addictive drums to do all my drums with, and they had the hi-hat on the left, so I just got used to it and I just kind of like it like that. So let's have a quick listen. Actually, right now we're still over the low tom. Let's put on just a beat, a groove. Okay, so right off the bat, it sounds pretty good. It's in phase, very important. I made sure to measure the exact distance from the same point on the drum kit, which is somewhere between the snare and the kick, and made sure that that was perfectly the same distance to one overhead and the other overhead. Sometimes, I don't know if you can see from here, but sometimes you see people, if you have the kick right in the front of the kit, they put two overheads like this. Imagine that the microphone is the kick drum, this here, and they like to put two overheads like this. Now, a friend of mine from Mexico gave me a great tip, which is that it kind of makes more sense to put them like this. So what does this do? Basically, from a top-down view, if you have your kick drum, you have the snare somewhere over here, right? So if you have your two overheads like this, the snare is going to be closer to one overhead than the other. So the snare is going to sound more on the left or right side, depending on how you pan it. I don't like that. I like to keep my kick and snare as much in the middle throughout the mix, and this comes directly, once again, recording from the source to reach the sound that we want. And what I want then is to put, if this is your kick and this is your snare and these are your overheads, I like to put them like this. So you have your kick and snare in this line and you have your overheads in this line, and they meet up right in the middle. That is the best way to be able to make sure that your kick and snare remain in the middle of your mix if you just have your overheads in solo. So we have them in solo. It's awesome. It's so cool. I can hear my snare right in the middle. Same thing with my kick, and I still hear my ride over off to one side, and I still hear my hi-hat over to the other, as well as the respective cymbals. I also hear the toms where they're supposed to be. If I sit at the drum kit, it almost sounds as if the toms are where they would be in real physical space, and I love that. So the overheads actually are sounding really, really good. This is the room mic, but I'll call it just room 1. Now, we are going to duplicate this puppy. And let's call this room 2. So, I'm going to go over here to the mix window, and we're going to put one to one side and put the other to the other side. And one of them, we are going to invert the phase. Lots of phase inversion happening today. And we're just going to listen. So that sounded weird. That sounded pretty weird here in my monitors. I wonder how it... Actually, let's put on some headphones. Let's see how it sounds in there. Because out here it sounded really freaking weird. So, let's go. So here I'm just switching between both channels, room 1 and room 2, which are, once again, both recorded from the same microphone in a figure 8 pattern. So one side of the microphone is pointed to this side of the room, the other side is pointed to this side of the room. If I put them together in the headphones, it actually doesn't sound that bad. It actually kind of grows the sound. Let's bypass the phase inversion. I mean, there's no question that this basically sounds mono, because it is. Without the phase inversion, you just have like one single sound source, shall we say, right in the middle. Now let's turn on the phase inversion. So it does widen the sound. Let's just kind of flip solo between one and the other. Okay, in headphones, really doesn't sound bad. Here it does sound a little bit weird, but maybe it just needs a bit of a mix altogether, because you don't want to be mixing things by yourselves. Tracks and different channels just by themselves. You usually want to be mixing with everything together to make sure that the whole cohesiveness of the picture really makes sense and sounds good. But since we're still in the testing phase, I think it's okay to do these kinds of experiments. All right, I'll keep it there. For whatever reason, if it doesn't sound good later, you know, no worries. We could just mute the room 2 track and we just keep one room track, one room microphone, if you will. And I have some really nice stereo reverb plugins that could maybe widen it out. Not even just plugins, I have some a digital reverb in the Tascam Model 12 over here, which I don't know if you get to see, but I've used it before and it sounds quite nice on drums to widen them out just a little bit. So yeah, this has been a really great first round of testing with the drums. I know what I gotta do now. The high tom, the rack tom, is the one that sounded the best. I don't want to touch that one. The kick definitely needs some adjusting. We got to put the kick out microphone in a different position. We have to go to the low tom and definitely move some microphones around as well a little bit, because I still feel that the sound could be better. Even before moving microphones, we have to see if the tuning of the drums is really to our liking. The overheads sounded great, really like that. Don't want to move any of that. And the rooms, an interesting experiment that could sound good, or maybe it doesn't work, but we're not so worried because we know of a way to make it sound good later. So let's just listen to everything one more time, some groove. Cool, all right. It's almost there. So I think that's it for today. Great first day here in the studio trying to record drums for the first time. It is almost 1 in the morning because during the day I am so busy that I have to push for late at night to work sometimes, but that's okay. We do it because we love it. Anyways, yeah, let me know if you learned anything. Let me know if this was kind of cool, if you want to see me go through my process of mixing. If you want to see any other sort of stuff, let me know. Leave it in the comments. As always, you know how it is. It's your boy Valroy. See you next time.